Sorry, but I want to take Dave calling in from Fargo.
Yes.
Dave, you're on Free Talk Live.
Thanks for taking my call, guys. I want to get your take on something that is extremely interesting to me that's going on where I'm at. On Valentine's Day this year, ironically, a 15-year-old girl in Moorhead, Minnesota, which is just across the river from where we're at, hooked up with two 19-year-old hockey players who were playing for a junior team in Lincoln. Fargo has a junior team. Lincoln was up there. They went back to their hotel room.
What's a junior team?
One of the the junior team in Lincoln is the Lincoln Stars.
No. What is a junior team? Is a junior team like the step below
a
pros?
Junior team is a hockey team. It's a hockey team that is comprised of 16 to 20-year-olds, and they're working towards a college scholarship.
Okay.
So they may be in high school, maybe they're just out of high school, but they're not yet playing college hockey.
Okay.
So they're in Fargo, and they hook up with this 15-year-old girl. They go back to their hotel room that they're staying at. One of them has sex with a girl while the other one videotapes.
All right.
Now, she's 15 and they're 19, and the charges have come out against them. And there's a charge of using a minor in a sexual performance, and there is a charge of possessing and distributing child pornography because, of course, if you're 19 years old and you videotape yourself having sex with somebody, you're going to send it to all of your friends.
Actually, the age in most cases doesn't matter. If they had been 17 or if they had also been 15, they still would have been charged and registered on the sex offender registry list.
There's a baffling case of like a 15-year-old, I think it was a 16-year-old girl and a 15-year-old boy having sex, videotaped it, and they arrested, I think in that case, both of them for distribution of child pornography. But
okay. Yeah. And that's fine, guys, but here's the take that I want to get from you. When I looked at the charges, there was no statutory rape charge filed.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And that puzzled me, and I looked into it because she's 15 and they're 19, and you would think that unless there's a messed up law, that would be a pretty clear-cut case of statutory rape. But here's what I found out. In Minnesota, where this took place, the legal age of consent is 16, but a 13, 14, or 15-year-old girl can legally consent to sex with a guy and vice versa if the guy or girl that they're consenting with is no more than 47 months older than they are.
That's pretty common,
So
actually. There's a lot of laws like that.
This is,
Okay,
I think
so
it's very interesting. Dave,
but
I want you to hold, because I want to talk to you about this. I think that it's very interesting. Should this be considered statutory rape? Just hold the line there, Dave. We'll go back to Dave in Fargo, telling a story about a couple of hockey players that took some video of, an incident with a 15-year-old young lady.
Yeah, and I guess the question I have is, in Minnesota, if that girl can consent to sex legally with a 19-year-old, then how is it that we can say she cannot consent to the videotaping thereof? I mean, I understand that we're trying to protect minors, and don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to mount a defense for these hockey players. I think most people would think that a 19-year-old that goes out road tripping that ends up with a 15-year-old girl is pretty sick. But that all being said, if she has the right to consent to having sex with those players, then how can we say she doesn't have the right to consent to the videotaping of that event? How can that be considered child pornography if she can legally consent in that case?
Are you sure it's that she's not allowed to film it or she's not allowed to distribute it?
Right, that's what I was going to be my question as well.
Well, they were charged, and again, I'm quoting the charges here. They were charged with using a minor in a sexual performance. That was the first charge.
Yep.
So that would indicate to me by the wording that whether they distributed it or not, they would be guilty of that. If she consented to it, she consented to the filming, and then they filmed it, they would at least be guilty of using a minor in a sexual performance, even if they meant to just keep the video for themselves.
Yeah, I think that it's a very difficult conundrum for the authorities and people to look at. Because here's the reason. You know as well as I do that on their 18th birthday, every single day, dozens, if not hundreds of women beat a path to pornographers' doors to do videos their very first time because they know that everybody knows that 18-year-old women are somehow more desirable than 88-year-old women, right? And that the pornographers, obviously there's a large market for this teen porn, right? And
Sure.
So imagine this for a second. You set up a company that just does teen porn, 15-year-old teen porn in Minnesota, where you have photographers and mic guys and the whole deal that are all 47 months older, less than 47 months older than 15. And so you have this whole operation set up where you can do pornography of 15-year-olds that would be sort of completely consensual in a legal sense if what you're saying is so. I'm not saying they shouldn't be able to do it. I'm just saying look at what's going to happen if somehow or another the politicians allow this. And are we ready for it?
And I'm okay with that. I mean, yeah, nobody wants to make a teen porn shop in any state, and I certainly don't want it to happen in my state. But I guess, the act of sex between two people is sort of, pardon the pun, but that rite of passing into adulthood.
Yeah.
And if we go ahead and say that you can do this, if you can go ahead and consent to it legally, then who's to say that you can't consent to being filmed? I mean, for example, they're 15 years old and they're on the softball field. They're 15 years old and they're at a music clinic or a concert that they're performing in. And we videotape that all the time.
Sure.
And we don't have a problem with them consenting to videotaping that particular situation.
I can answer a little bit about
that they're old enough to consent. What happens here?
I can answer a little bit about the legal lunacy that I think that they'll probably use here in Minnesota. And I think you brought it up and stated it earlier, that she can consent with these men to have sex as long as they are 47 months older than her, more than 47 months older than her. Well, a video, right, of pornography could be viewed by someone who is more than 47 months older than her. So she can't consent to have sex with someone who is that much older than her. So how could she possibly consent to have pornography shown to someone who is that much older than her?
I guess.
And I bet that, as insane as that argument is, I'm sure it will come into play.
Well, what about the right to document your own life?
What you're saying is that in Minnesota, we would consider a 58-year-old guy watching that video having sex with that girl by distance from anywhere around the world. It's the same thing.
It's insane.
It's insane. But maybe.
And this is the difficulty when you get into sort of trying to limit what people do this is a normal activity that everybody on the planet, minus a few, are going to participate in. I mean sex, not videotaping it. Fortunately, I've managed to dodge that particular bullet. But, lots of people haven't.
Well, guys, I appreciate it. It's obviously strange. I'll hang up and listen the rest of the way,
Thanks,
but
Dave.
I appreciate you taking my call.
Yeah, I wonder about the poor 19-year-old who may be filming this interaction to prove that it was consensual. I mean, could you imagine if he was just recording this to refrain from any rape allegations that may come his way? I mean, doesn't he have the right to record his life in that way to make sure that he's protected legally?
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.